He saw his friends Isaiah and Matt shot and killed, but his friend Isaiah was taught of the racial slurs moments before he was shot and killed. And we have over 20 different programs from kindergarten to the corporate arena. And, all of our programs start with the challenge to eliminate prejudice, whether it's an elementary school or a corporation. We always begin with the challenge to eliminate prejudice. My daughter wrote about prejudice in her essay. She said it wasn't until recently that I learned that the first and second and third impressions can be deceitful of what kind of person someone is. Let me ask you something. Did you look into their soul and not just at their appearance? Until you know them and not just their type, you have no right to shun them. You've not looked for their beauty, their good. I was fortunate enough to have a great man as a mentor in my life by the name of Norman Grubb. Many, many years ago. Norman's been dead for 30 years. He was a prolific writer. He wrote around 30 books. Many of them were bestsellers back in the 40s and 50s. He's the only friend I ever had with a World War I injury. And Norman told me something I never forgot. He had an English brogue, and he would stay in our home often. And he said one day, Darrell, if you will learn to be a see-througher, not a look-at-er, life will have purpose and meaning. He said, don't look at your circumstances. Look through your circumstances and you'll find purpose on the worst day of your life. He said, don't look at people. See through. And that's what Rachel was writing about. She said, don't look at their appearance. Look into their soul. Look into the person, not at the person. If we all chose to really understand each other by being see-throughers instead of look-atters, we wouldn't have a problem with prejudice. We wouldn't be judging people by anything to do with outward appearance. And I want to just ask a simple question. How many of you have people in your life that bring out the best in you? Now, this is group participation. Thank you. Now, second question. How many of you honestly have people that bring out the worst in you? Now, hold them up. Don't put them down. Hold them up. I want you to think about that person you have in mind right now. I hope that's not your spouse. Keep them up. Keep them up. Think about that person, because we're going to name those people right now, starting at the back of the room. Okay, everybody's hands are down. The truth is, people find what they look for. And if you look for the worst in me as a presenter this morning, you can find that. If you look for the best in me, you can find that. And the truth is, we find what we look for. Isn't that true? We find what we look for in other people. And if you look for the worst in people, you're going to bring it out of them. If you look for the best in people, you're going to bring it out of them. So it's a selfish thing to look for the best in other people. It's for your own good. Because you want to bring out the best in other people. It changes your world and makes it better. Rachel wrote and she said, look hard enough and you'll always find a light. And you can help that light grow if you don't walk away from those three impressions first. So I want to challenge you, just like we challenge students, to look for the best in other people and to give people at least 3 chances before you dare judge them. Because I have met people, and I have to admit, I have been guilty of prejudice many times in my life. And Rachel convicted me of that. And every day I try to practice not being prejudiced. But the way I do that is to do something she said that I think is just powerful. She said, look for the best in others and you'll never have a problem with prejudice. The remedy to anything is not to see the negative but the positive. Goals should never start with don't. Goals should never start with can't. So don't have a goal to not be prejudiced. That's a bad goal. Let your goal be to look for the best in others. We go into schools, and although we're told by many experts that we're the greatest bullying and violence prevention program in the United States, we don't call ourselves that. We don't even hardly use the word bullying. And yet we see a lot of bullying eliminated because we don't focus on the negative, we focus on the positive. I wish that President Bush had asked my opinion when he came up with No Child Left Behind. Because honestly, that's one of the worst worded goals I've ever heard in my life. Don't. It says no, that's negative. Child's positive. Left, negative. Behind, I'd say every child moves ahead. It's the same thing, but it's worded different. So when you think about writing goals, think about the way you word those. You don't want to focus on what you don't want to be, because your subconscious doesn't know the difference. Whatever you set it as a goal, it's going to go after. Don't be like Uncle Henry. Sorry, Uncle Henry, if you're here. Don't be like Uncle Henry. You know what? You're going to turn out just like Uncle Henry because your subconscious latches on to be Uncle Henry. So, this is something we talk to young people about, is have positive goals, look for the best in others. You won't have a problem with prejudice. And I promise you that's true. If you look for the best in people, it changes your whole perspective. Rachel had a huge influence in her life by the name of Anne Frank. All of us know who Anne Frank was, the young girl who died at age 15 in the Holocaust. She left the world her diary. My daughter had a well-worn copy of Anne Frank's diary in her room when she died. And I'm so grateful to Anne Frank for her influence on my daughter, because Rachel left us with 6 diaries, and if it weren't for Anne Frank's influence, we may not have any of those diaries. And if we didn't have them, I wouldn't be standing here today sharing her story. But she poured her heart out. My daughter